He's for the game. He's for the fighting. He's a big fighting. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everybody, this is a little bit weird, right? This is a kind of a viewpoint I've never done a video from before, so just bear with me. And also, this video is going to be a little bit different than the ones I've done before. Obviously, the world is in a really odd situation. Recently, I was probably at like the last gaming convention that any kind of convention is going to be for a very long time. I was at GAMA, and GAMA is more of like a publisher trade show. Also, like it's for bridging gaps. If you can look it up, but it's for bridging gaps between people that create board games with the public, but not really so much like the individual purchaser or the buyer or the backer. It's one of those things where instead it's to bridge a gap to the retailers, the people that have stores that are going to put board games on their shelves and people are going to buy them. And it's a lot of fun. You get to see a lot of people. It's like one of the heavy industry type of situations. So like a lot of the people that I've met between having this channel and being extremely fortunate and having a job in the industry for as long as I have, you know, it's just one of those things where I know almost everybody that's there, and that's not me bragging. It's just one of those things where it's a very relatively small number of people, and you get to know everybody just because you start shaking hands. But anyway, long intro, trying to shorten it up a little bit. What this is I was there. And my really good friend, and then I'm going to say that as a, like, you know, just to whatever you decide as far as my opinion about this game right here that I'm going to talk about real briefly. Probably not real briefly, it's me. But my really good friend Travis Chance is a board game designer. He is a board game publisher. He's worked for several different companies. He started his own companies, and he is now like a freelance creation entrepreneur / genius, whatever you want to call it. He's a dear friend. When I say that he is a friend, there's those people that you kind of know in the board game industry that are like, hey, it's you. Hey, buddy, how's it going? And those are people that I consider friends. But then there are those few that like I talk to on a regular basis, and Travis is definitely one of those. And if you watch my weekly show, The Owl of Boom, you know full well that Travis takes part in that, and he comes on and shares his humor and his insight and his amazing scatterbrained ideas, and he's very entertaining. So you know, but I've told him before that he's shown me games. Like I saw the very first interpretation of Western Legends. I played that, I believe it was at an Origins before it was even and it was horrible. I told him, this game is horrible. Now, obviously, Western Legends is a very fantastic game now, but you should know that Travis Chance did most of the development on that, and I take nothing away from the designer. The designer made of Western Legends. And here I'm talking about Western Legends. I should be talking about this, but just so you know, don't take that to heart. The designer of Western Legends made a wonderful base, a wonderful setup for Travis to get in there, work with that person, and create the great game that Western Legends is, that you probably may, if you don't own it, you should own it. It's really good. But anyway, regardless, this is the game. Travis had this with him. It's called Ruination. And my plan was that he was going to, I was going to play this with him. He was going to have this like prototype copy sent to me, and then I was going to get home and I was going to play it a few more times with my gaming group, and then I was going to do a video. Well, as you probably have guessed, because of the situation that we're dealing with the coronavirus. As soon as I got home, things were locked down almost immediately. My kids were stuck here at the house. My gaming nights that I set up on a regular basis over at this place, you can't really see the whole place. One day, this room will be complete as far as with all like, but directly behind the camera right now is where my table is and where I play all my games, and eventually this will be my full studio. But anyway, I'm totally gonna be on myself. As Travis would say, before I get to the point, I'm going to tell a 7,000 word story about why I'm talking about this way it is. Now, the problem is that I didn't really get to play it. More than one time I played it at GAMA. But Travis was kind enough to let me play it with 3 other wonderful people, and we had an absolute blast with it. Ruination is at its heart, it's a victory point game. It's an area control game. It is a dudes on the map game. But just for starters, I'm just going to say that the artwork and the presentation of the game is phenomenal. Now, I would play a game that's awesome with any type of art, but obviously when you layer in the theme of this one, and then you layer in the fact that like you have really great art and really great sculpts. I'll show you a few of the figures here in a little bit. Admittedly, those necessarily won't be what those miniatures are going to look like, as I watch my cat tear around the basement right now. But my point is that the game goes to great lengths to immerse you in the storyline with the presentation of the art, and also the figures and everything else that's part of it. Now, there's a few things that I really enjoy. Now, I've talked about in lots of videos and lots of my my weekly Alaboom Wednesday shows, I've talked about how after playing, and I'm just guessing, around 3,000 board games. I mean, that's just like my theory. I remember like 5-6 years ago, me and Joel Eddy tried to like figure out how many games we'd played, and our theory was at that point maybe 1,500 total board games, different board games we played. And I mean, it's at least doubled now, and then plus rules that I've read of games I've never played and things like that. So it's really tough for games to come out and impress me as far as this is a new thing, right? This is a new process. This is a new way of playing board games. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, you know, it's a little bit of the shine, a little bit of the veneer of board games has kind of vanished a little bit for me. And I can still really enjoy them. I still really have a lot of fun with them, but it's tough. It's tough to like find something that's new and exciting. Now, I'm not going to just flat out say, oh, this is the most new and most exciting game of all time. I'm not going to say that. But what I'm going to say is they have something that I hadn't actually seen in a game before, which is pretty cool. One of the things that you do in this game, so when it's your turn, and I apologize that I'm not showing you like a play-by-play of the game or anything like that. You know, it's just one of those things where I don't really feel 100% comfortable with the rules as far, because I've only played it once, right? And I need to play a game 2 or 3 times. And you may or may not know this, but when I do like the video of like how the game is played, it's usually right after I've played a game. I have my friends over, we play the game, it's set up on my table, and then my friends go home, and then I immediately set up my camera and I play it. So the rules in the game are fresh in my mind, you know, but I haven't had that. I haven't had the capability of doing that. So, but the thing about it is that on your turn you take an action. Oh, yeah, that's new and exciting, right? But no, the way you determine what action you're going to take is that there are 3 decks of cards, and those 3 decks of cards represent the 3 different actions you can possibly take on your turn. Are you going to move people about the board? Are you going to recruit somebody into your following? Are you going to collect resources? Things like that. But the card itself will sometimes, or most of the time, give you some little added bonus, some little added thing that they're going to give you on your turn. And when you select the card, that you get that added thing. And also, this is one of those things where you might possibly be looking at the person next to you and what they're going to do, and you might want to take a card that you think that they're going to want. Maybe they've amassed a giant army that seems like it's ready to conquer one of your lands. If you see the next like card that would allow them to do that, it has a big benefit for them. It might behoove you at that point to make the decision and take that away. So, I mean, I've never experienced that where these 3 decks of cards are, and then and each card being, those decks each card having a different ability, and that affects the game in some way, like adds a little skew to the action you're taking. I've never had that. Now, I mean, I'm sure like there's some other thing, like maybe you roll a die or something like another game or whatever, but I've never had a situation where you had that kind of choice, where the cards that you picked were not only the action you take, but also had like a little added bonus or whatever, and as soon as that card's gone, you put it down, right? And here's the deal: you think, okay, you cycle through those cards, but here, one of the really cool things about this is that there are variable ending points of the game. So there are several different tracks on the board that'll keep track of certain things, whether they're like glory points or faith or what have you. And each one of those tracks has an ending point. And if a player reaches that ending point, that's a way the game can end. Just like the 3 decks, if somebody cycles through all the cards in that deck, if you get to the bottom of one of the decks, any of the 3, that signals the game end. Now you have one more like turn where you finish the turn you're on, then you have one more turn before the game is over. But I do love having, I don't like games, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't like things. One of the things I really like about games, if they have a kind of player-determined ending point. Like, it isn't decided like, oh, you're going to have 5 rounds and the game is over. That's fine. A lot of games have that. But in a game that has a great deal of chaos, a great deal of things going on, if you have a situation where any one of the players, if they can achieve a certain goal, can trigger the game ending, it's really important. And that's also going to factor in some of the other things. You might be looking at different tracks that the people are having that the game will end, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that track is getting close, that player is getting close to getting enough glory, and they're going to trigger the end of the game. What do I do? How do I prevent that from happening? Or what do I have to do to make sure that my victory points are catching up to another player that might be in the lead? And so your strategies will evolve as the game is played, depending upon those types of situations where when is the game going to end? Is it a long ways off? Is it getting closer? That sort of thing. I do like that when you can't just say, oh, I've got my little victory point engine here and I'm just going to keep chugging along. Well, that might not be the case because you need to change up your strategy as the game progresses. Now, another thing that I really liked about it, I really enjoyed the combat. Now, the combat is dice-based and is also based upon the units you have on the board and versus the units you're facing, and it'll determine how many dice you get to roll. There's also upgradable cards that are going to upgrade your tribe that you have, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But the thing about the combat is that you can lose without having to lose all of your troops that are on the board. You can, in fact, actually lose the battle, but do so much damage to the other player that they don't have any units left. They might win the battle, but you actually destroy their invading army entirely. It is a very fluid, very, very movable combat as far as like the combination between both the damage and how it affects each side, but also like the victory conditions that it affects each side. I mentioned upgrading. So each one of your tribes has these 3 different slots, and you basically are able to put different cards into those slots that are going to upgrade your tribe in some way. And you can replace those as the game goes on, but you're looking for certain things that are going to help you out, whether or not you have like these war hyenas that are going to help you fight. Maybe you have something that, like, if you control certain areas, that's going to be worth more victory points at the end of the game, stuff like that. And those are also very mutable, very changeable as the game goes on. And also, I should mention that each tribe has its own signature flair, if you will, and they have a variable player power, something I really like about games as well. Like, not everybody is just, I am, tribe A, tribe B, tribe C, tribe D, we're all the same. No, each one has something it's good at, each has something that it is maybe not as good at as far as the others go, and you're going to change your strategies as far as those go as well. So, I mean, this was a game that kind of hit on all cylinders. Now, it didn't hurt that I won the game that I played, and I was pretty proud of myself for winning the game. But I think it was one of those things where there's a lot of room to explore as far as with multiple plays, which is one of the reasons I'm kind of sad that I haven't got to play this again, because of the fact that, as you know, and I've said in many videos, I'm more of an exploratory gamer. I will play a game and I will like explore the different options, explore different things that I can do in a game. But once I've kind of explored the game completely, I get tired of it. I'm not a person that can just say, okay, let's play Agricola for the 100th time and see if I can increase my point total by 2 points or something like that. That isn't something that I enjoy. Now, it just means that the longer a game gives me more ground to explore and gives me more ground to unearth and try things out, the more it's going to be, I'm going to want to keep it on my shelf, and the more I'm going to want to keep playing it. So there's tons of things as far as like that in this game, with the variable player powers, the fact that the cards work differently, the fact that you have all these different improvements that you can put into your tribe. It's one of those things where I know that I'm going to get, once this game is published, and I'm really excited that it funded on Kickstarter, that, you know, I'm going to be able to keep playing it and playing and playing it and having a lot of fun with it. Now, I said I was going to show you some of the sculpts. So, like, and you're not going to see, this is horrible, since, like, you're not going to be able to really tell what this is. But, so each tribe will have 3 different types of units. You have kind of like your grunts. You will have your tough guys, basically the ones that you know, like the elite units, and then you're gonna have mounted units like this guy here, and you know, like the mounted units will be able to move further. The grunts are just there as cannon fodder. So like here would be like a grunt. Like here you have just this guy, and you might not be able to really tell anything, and I'm sorry that you're not gonna be able to see, but you have these grunts that are there just basically to take the damage, and then but also there are these like super elite these people that are in gray that don't actually have like any particular tribe. These are like these elite units that leaders, if you will, that you can draft into your army and recruit into your army. I like this guy. I picked this guy just because it's and you might not be able to tell, but it's a guy in robes, and he's basically on a wheelchair that has machine guns on it and what have you, and he's just super cool and super awesome looking. But anyway, so and that's another thing, like all these different like cool little units like that. That's just like, oh, you know, it's like, wow, look at, you know, not only do I have an army, but now I have this guy in a mechanized armored wheelchair with a machine gun who's also leading it. And so, you know, Travis has said many times that like one of his favorite movies of all time is that most recent Mad Max movie that came out. Well, actually, now it isn't really recent; it's several years ago now. But you know, just the and you can kind of tell that with the art, right? The kind of the orange hues and things like that. I think that's what he was going for. So yeah, I mean, the game is fantastic. It's awesome. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to give you like a true Undead Viking review. Maybe I should do more reviews like this anyway. You know, it's kind of like more like me just hanging out with you as it is. But anyway, regardless, this is a fantastic game. I know there's like on like the last day of like the Kickstarter where I'm going to publish this video, which I feel bad about, but I'm sure they're gonna have a pledge manager. I'm sure they're gonna have a way that you can get in on it after the fact. So if you see this video and you see that they have an opening and have a pledge manager, have the ability for you to get your copy and get your Kickstarter copy before it goes and gets published, I would strongly suggest you do so. What type of game of it? It is definitely a game that, oh, I should mention, yes, it has combat, it has people fighting, it has armies being depleted, but we had a player like basically almost get completely wiped out. Like his army, like I think he was down to like 1 person, and within a turn he was back up to full force. He was back up to full fighting ability. So yes, you do get units killed, but you don't get like destroyed if your units die. I mean, obviously it's better to have armies on the board, but and that person finished second in our game to me. So I mean, it isn't like the combat, it isn't like Risk where you're down to like your last 2 units, you might as well just give up. You can come back. You can having your army be obliterated won't actually cause you to lose the game, because the game is at heart a victory point game. It isn't a who's got the most units on the board, who did I, you know, kill more, you know, that kind of thing. But you know, it's in a lot of ways, I should mention, it felt a little bit like Eclipse. Now Eclipse is a completely different game as far as like, you know, it's in space, but this is a 4X game as well. I should mention that. But you get points, you get things by controlling stuff, you get points for having certain resources, you get points for killing people in combat. So you know, everything like in Eclipse, like everything will get you points. It's kind of the same thing here. So you can just have a strategy of like, I'm just going to kind of defend and like control a lot of territory. That's a way that you can win. You can say, I'm just going to have a giant marauding army and I'm just going to fight people all day long, and that's a way you can win as well. So that's what I'm talking about, the exploration, having a lot of different things, having a lot of stuff going on that makes this game awesome. So there you go. Check out the Kickstarter. Check out, I believe they have a go over as far as the rules, and so you can definitely read those rules. You can definitely see gameplay. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do that for you, but it's a fantastic game. I'm backing it. I think you should back it, and if you have any questions about it, by all means, ask away. As wherever you are watching this, stay healthy, stay sane. My heart goes out to each and everybody that's being affected by this this current global situation, and just everybody be safe, and everybody be kind, and everybody be patient, and I'll see you on the other side when we get out of this, and then we can maybe sit down and play some games together as it is. All right, take care. God bless.